So if you could have superpowers, but you only had to select from the Fantastic Four, who you choosing?
I think for me, it's got to be Johnny Storm.
Oh yeah, Johnny? Why Johnny?
Johnny, because he's got Riz. He literally is on fire. He's fire. And he flies.
See, for me, it's a toss-up between The Thing, Big Ben Grimm, and Mr. Fantastic himself. You know Ben Grimm, big body Grimm, big body Ben. You know, indestructible rock armor. I could do a lot of things with that. But I think Mr. Fantastic's a little underrated. You know, some people might look at his ability to stretch and be like, it's kind of whack. They're not thinking. You go to the NBA, you're a gigastar. You could dunk from half court.
MJ in Space Jam.
MJ in Space Jam. Also, like I mentioned before, he can stretch all parts of his anatomy. I don't mean to get a little graphic here, but you know, Mr. Fantastic was here right now, he'd be making a killing off of OnlyFans.
And with that said, welcome to another episode of the After the Opening Credits podcast. I'm one half of your host, Hugo the Boss, Hugo got next, joined by my illustrious co-host.
As always, it's your boy Ray Boogie Kahuna. And on this episode, we're going to be reviewing, spoiler-free, the brand new movie coming out of Marvel Studios, The Fantastic Four, First Steps. But before we get into any of that, let's take our first steps. My brother, tell him what the deal is.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visual portion of this podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know. So to begin this podcast, what were some of the things that you enjoyed about this film?
I think I'm just going to get straight to it. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. It's Galactus. I mean, listen, Marvel historically doesn't really do villains too well. This film, I mean, it's got a lot to prove, right? I mean, it's got some Marvel stank. Marvel's been in a bit of a rut. Also, again, the Fantastic Four themselves on film have been struggling.
Yes.
So this movie had to hit a lot of check marks. And I think a good villain is always a good way to like carry a film. Galactus.
Chef's kiss.
My God. Like, this is the first time I watch a villain and I'm like, damn, he could really do it. Like, he's out here just doing it. He don't care. My man is just hungry. And then you can't have Galactus without his herald.
The Silver Surfer.
The Silver Surfer. And like, I've always been a bit of a fan of the Silver Surfer, only because, like, you know, aesthetically, Silver Surfer always looked cool. Not really a fan of how the Surfer character has been portrayed so far on screen, but in this movie, knocked it out the park, in my opinion. I think the Silver Surfer does have some depth. They were able to get into that depth.
100%. And we've seen the Silver Surfer on screen before. That movie in the 2007 iteration of the Fantastic Four wasn't necessarily done too properly. Didn't have that depth that you were speaking about earlier with me. Also, Galactus was not nailed properly in that movie.
No, Galactus was just a cloud in that movie.
Yeah, it was
a literal cloud.
It was rough.
Yeah.
I agree. Then the 2025 First Steps movie that we just recently came out of, Galactus is not a cloud, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no, he's full body, hard body karate, the eater of worlds.
He is the real deal, Holyfield. And he is just trashing a whole bunch of things in this movie. And like the Silver Surfer, has a lot more depth in this movie. They give him a little bit more backstory, enough to get you really invested, but also give you enough from the Silver Surfer and Galactus to make them feel like they're real threats to the protagonists of this film, which are the Fantastic Four.
Another thing I liked about this movie is the actual world itself, the setting in which the movie takes place. Obviously, it's an alternate reality on an alternate planet, you know, not related to the mainline MCU.
The sacred timeline.
The sacred timeline. This is an alternate timeline here, and it's set in an alternate New York City where, to be honest, like visually, very captivating. It reminds me of like the Jetsons.
Yes.
It's like futuristic, but modern, but still set in the 60s. So it has that retro feel.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a much different setting than any of the, I guess, alternate timelines that the MCU has kind of laid out for us. It's also a world where we've already been introduced to the Fantastic Four, two supervillains, two superheroes, and how the people embrace the superheroes, as you see in the trailer, as well as throughout the film. And they're kind of already used to the Fantastic Four already cleaning up most of the messes.
Yeah, this is a world that's already kind of established. This is a world where they know who the Fantastic Four are. They know their backstory.
And a world that's kind of used to the Fantastic Four coming up with solutions to the world's problems.
Did anything else stick out for you?
The CGI in particular. Overall, the film kind of nailed the CGI, which we've seen lacking in some of the more previous MCU films, and particularly during the action scenes. This film knocked it out the park, and I will stop right there before I give anything else away.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I think the CGI was definitely on point. It's something that's definitely been lacking in MCU proper for a while, both in their television and their recent movies. You can tell that they really cared about this particular project and kind of wanted to like knock it out the park, with the exception of one particular scene where I was like, no spoilers. Man, they definitely kind of lacked on the budget in that scene. But outside of that, you know, especially with Galactus and Silver Surfer and all the action sequences, excellent.
Yeah, 100%. And that particular scene you're referring to, super cringeworthy. You could tell.
Yeah.
You could tell that the guys in the back, the producers were like, yo, we got to slow this down a little bit. You know, the budget, we're expensing a little too much than we were supposed to.
Put more into Galactus. Put more into Galactus. You know what I'm saying?
On top of that, what I really enjoyed was the cast of characters. The casting was amazing. The chemistry between the characters was on point.
Especially, you know, the Fantastic Four themselves. Great chemistry, great dynamic. Definitely felt like a family. Definitely felt like they've, you know, been through it all.
Yes, and this is definitely a family film. You get that family chemistry between like Johnny and Sue and Johnny and the Thing.
And Richard and Ben. And definitely Richard and Sue. I think Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, definitely, you can feel that chemistry. They worked really well on screen.
Yes, and Pedro and Vanessa, you really see that chemistry off screen, like not during the film. You can see that they really worked on that dynamic to really nail the chemistry between Reed and Sue throughout the film.
Yeah, I think they just genuinely enjoy each other, you know?
Yes, and it carried off screen, obviously, as well. So it's just such a heartwarming film, and Marvel really did their thing in terms of having kids gloves on this and making sure that they knocked it out the park.
Now, you know, not every film is sunshine and roses. I'm not going to say it's a perfect film. So what didn't you like about it?
I would say the pacing. This movie, like the Superman film, kind of gives you a lot to digest in the beginning of the movie. It flushes out well as the movie goes on, but it's something that if you're a viewer that's not a fan of the Fantastic Four, it is a lot to intake, especially if you're not familiar with the lore.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a problem with them like cutting out the origin, for example. They kind of like, you know, they give you a quick little backstory on them in a creative way. That part doesn't really bother me as much. What bothered me more was I think this film would have actually benefited from maybe a little more time. It is a 2-hour movie. I do think Marvel did it a disservice by making it so short. I feel like if we would have got a little more time with the characters, which is another gripe of mine, the main characters, they were good, but I feel like they lacked a little depth. I think they do a decent job in terms of like giving you Sue, giving you Johnny, giving you Ben, giving you Richard. But a lot of the character traits that you might be used to if you're a fan, they don't really dive into too much.
Agreed. I felt like they nailed the dynamic and the depth of those characters a little better in the 2005 film.
I agree.
What we mean by that is you get more of the personality traits of a Johnny, of a Sue, of a Reed, of a Ben.
I agree with you completely. Say what you want about the 2005 Fantastic Four. They did the characters, the individual characters really well in that movie.
In this movie, they kind of nail more of the family dynamic that they have.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me personally, that lack of depth kind of took away a little bit from me, especially for one particular scene where I don't want to spoil it because it's a major scene. Probably would have hit a little harder if I could connect with the characters just a little more.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think besides the depth of some of these characters, as well as the pacing and as much as they pack into the beginning of this movie, I guess what are some of the other issues that you may have had with this film?
I think the only other issue that I really have with this film is that it felt a little heavy-handed on the editing. There were certain scenes, both action and non-action, they were meant to go a little longer, and they definitely felt like they were a bit shortened.
And you could tell that Marvel wanted this film to be so successful that they kind of had a little bit too much of a heavy hand in terms of some of the editing decisions before this movie hit the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel really wanted to nail this one and knock it out the park, but in doing so, they, it was a little overly curated.
100%. And just to wrap up this podcast, the spoiler-free podcast, by the way, like, comment, subscribe.
Hey.
How would you rate this film?
Well, like every film that I like to go to, I try to go into it with low expectations. I dodge all the trailers I can because I don't want any spoilers. I do come into this movie knowing that the MCU's been struggling a little bit, and Fantastic Four doesn't have the greatest track record when it comes to the big screen. Safe to say, I think the MCU, Disney, Marvel in general, they really take care of the first family here. I think while this movie is a bit on the safe side, it's a very good watch. And I gotta say, I think Marvel, they got their first steps going here. And I think this is a very good Fantastic Four film. I think you can put all those nervous feelings to the side. It's an excellent film. You get lost in the world. You root for the characters. You hate the bad guy. The bad guy is very good, by the way.
Yes.
I'll give this a decently sized full price.
And specifically for the Fantastic Four criteria, which we will use for this podcast, was the movie great and extraordinary and super fantastic like Mr. Fantastic? Was it hot fire like Johnny Storm? Was it a movie that you wanted to be invisible and in the matinee section and on a Tuesday night watch it by yourself like Sue Storm? Or was it ugly and bad like The Thing?
I think I would give this film a solid 3 Johnny Storms out of 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of there as well. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Me being objective to the film, I would say it's just like maybe 1 Johnny Storm for a casual viewer that is not in bed with the lore of these characters or the MCU in general. But in terms of you being a super fan of Marvel or even DC, of superhero movies in general, I think this is a 3 to even 4 out of 4 Johnny Storms, peaking on a Mr. Fantastic grading. Very well done. The villain was fantastic. Despite some of the flaws that we've seen with the film, it was very enjoyable and definitely something that I'm actually considering seeing a second time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. That's our spoiler-free review of the Fantastic Four First Steps. We took our first steps, but now we're going to take our last steps. My brother, please tell them what the deal is.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visual portion of this podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know. That's a wrap for this spoiler-free episode of the Fantastic Four. Please join us on the spoiler-filled episode for this movie. There's a lot of things that we want to discuss with you guys, including our boy Galactus, who is joining us on the podcast set as we speak. Love you guys, see you guys, and see you for the spoiler-filled episode coming out soon. Peace.